Jonathan Dwight Jones currently holds the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. At just 31 years of age, he is considered by most to be the greatest mixed martial arts fighter of all time. Although he has lost the UFC title on 3 separate occasions, it was never as a result of being defeated in competition.
And now, introducing the champion!
Jones is one of the UFC's most popular fighters and simultaneously the most polarizing as well. He's admired by followers of the sport for his accomplishments inside the cage and reviled for his misconduct outside of it. A junior college national wrestling champion, Jones was a hot prospect when he arrived in the world's largest MMA organization with an impressive 6-0 record. At the time, both his older and younger brothers were college football standouts who would later be drafted into the NFL. Expectations were high for the upstate New Yorker, but he remained unfazed and rose to the challenge in a way that mixed martial arts has never seen. Jones was just 23 years old when he defeated the legendary Mauricio Shogun Rua, making him the youngest champion in UFC history. The MMA world was abuzz with the meteoric rise of the young kid from Endicott, New York. A little over a year after winning the title, his private life began to spiral out of control. In May 2012, he totaled his Bentley in a one-car accident and was arrested for a DUI. This would be the first of numerous encounters with the law and substance abuse. After the DUI, Jones seemed to be on a righteous path, for the most part, but in late 2014, he was involved in a brawl with title challenger Daniel Cormier inside the MGM Grand Lobby and fined $50,000 by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Apart from that slip-up, he was drug-free, at least as far as his employers were concerned. He went on to defeat Daniel Cormier, adding another chapter to their long-standing rivalry, which continues to this day. But the extent of his addictions became more apparent in January 2015 when Jones tested positive for cocaine. Since the substance was found in his system outside of competition, the Athletic Commission had no jurisdiction to suspend or fine him. Just 4 months later, his drug and alcohol addiction took a sinister turn when Jones was involved in a car accident that resulted in the injury of a pregnant woman after an intoxicated Jones ran a red light. He subsequently fled the scene, escalating the violation from a misdemeanor to a felony. The UFC had finally had enough of his abhorrent behavior and took action, stripping Jones of the title. Upon return from suspension, Jones defeated Ovince St. Preux to become the interim light heavyweight champion, and a rematch was scheduled with his arch-nemesis Daniel Cormier, who won the title in Jones' absence.
It means everything. I've said it from day one. When I'm done with this, I will be remembered, and I will be remembered as the greatest fighter to ever step foot in the UFC's octagon. No cheaters included. I will be the greatest of all time.
Just 3 days before he was to challenge DC for the undisputed title, Jones tested positive for 2 banned substances. They were the estrogen blockers clomiphene and letrozole, which are typically used by athletes who abuse steroids. Jones was stripped of the interim title and placed on a 1-year suspension. Upon his return, he finally got his long-awaited rematch with Daniel Cormier, defeating him by knockout. Less than a month later, on August 22nd, the UFC announced that Jon Jones tested positive for banned substances again.
So definitely has one penalty under the system. So the second penalty, if it were to come to that, basically doubles the amount of the first. So for a specified substance, which are your non-steroid substances, those are usually a year the first time, and so they'd be 2 years for a second offense. Now, Jon is afforded due process rights, and those will be carried out here, in the coming months.
And there are reports that it was a steroid. Are you able to confirm that?
I'm not going to comment on what the substance was.
The substance turned out to be the anabolic steroid turinabol. The result of the fight was overturned to a no contest, meaning that Cormier remained champion because he never actually lost the belt. Jones received a 15-month suspension and returned in December of 2018. In the meantime, DC also captured the heavyweight championship and later vacated the light heavyweight title. Despite his checkered past, Jones returned to an immediate title shot against Alexander Gustafsson, the only person to come remotely close to beating him. The controversy didn't stop. The Nevada Athletic Commission refused to license Jones when another urine test resulted in trace amounts of turinabol.
Today, And so what I would like to ask of the applicant is, how many people do you have on your behalf today that you would like to speak?
On the week of the fight, UFC elected to move the event to the state of California with no regard to the fighters who had no choice but to pay higher taxes. They were outraged, and so were the fans, who would not be able to get reimbursed for their flights or hotels.
When I found out the last event was canceled and being switched over, I broke down crying.
Jones easily defeated Gustafsson in the rematch and then went back before the Nevada Athletic Commission. Doctors testified on Jones' behalf, saying that the trace metabolites of turinabol were residual and not evidence of readministration.
So, if he then asked me, is it possible he had exposure, closer to that October 2017 test, and will you still only see the M3 metabolite later? Sure.
I wish fans would not just look at the headlines and actually click on the links and read and learn what was really going on. But I've set myself free from any level of embarrassment. I have no shame. I've said many times that I've never knowingly done anything to do any type of sports enhancing, drugs and whatnot. So
here we are again. I mean, you guys have seen the news Nevada put out. So a couple, again, low-level positive M3 metabolites for Jon Jones. Not going to affect the fight this Saturday. As I was talking about it this morning, I've been on the phone with Andy Foster, State of California Executive Director, Bob Bennett, Executive Director, John's camp, his attorney, internally here with the UFC, and all of us are of the opinion, well, this is, it's not great that every time Jon fights, an issue like this comes up. However, based on the amount of testing that he's had over this last 2 months, these recent low-level positives are the best evidence I think we've seen of what these experts are telling us, and that is no readministration of this substance and no performance-enhancing benefit.
As a result, he was granted his Nevada license on January 28th, just ahead of his title defense against Anthony Smith, March 2nd in Las Vegas.
So I just want to make a quick statement, just saying thank you so much to USADA, thank you to Nevada State Athletic Commission, my team, the UFC, mainly the fans, everyone for sticking by me throughout this process, allowing me to say my piece, allowing me to go through this process, eventually proving my innocence.
Even that fight had its own controversy, with Jones losing 2 points on the scorecards for an illegal knee. Jones has frequently been accused of illegal techniques. His only loss is actually a disqualification for using illegal elbow strikes. Other than that, he's been warned by the referee for using eye pokes in about half his fights, but has never been reprimanded.
And, I did an illegal blow, and he decided to allow the fight to continue. And I'm so proud of him for just being a real warrior out there and continuing to fight.
Jones returns to action to defend his light heavyweight title against Thiago Santos, an up-and-coming Brazilian light heavyweight prospect.
To myself, how am I going to do with this next wave that's coming? The Anthony Smiths, Thiago Santos, the Corey Andersons, the Johnny Walkers. These guys are young, they're hungry, and they're dream chasers. So I think my best years are ahead of me. This is the years where I need to pick it up even to a higher level to remain at the position I'm in.
While he continues to maintain that he's left his wicked ways behind him, this is a story that Jon has told time and time again.
I'm at a place now where I've been hurt so many times, and so many things have happened. I caused a lot of my own pain, and there's been a lot of pain that wasn't in my control. I've been a part of a lot of negativity in my career, between fighting with DC on stage and people accusing me of this and that or whatnot. And finally, I'm just like I'm on team positivity. I believe positivity conquers all. It does. The power of your intentions conquers all. My intentions is to have a great week, a great weekend, to make a lot of fans happy, and to bring that new design of that UFC go back to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
July 6th will give Jon Jones another opportunity to leave his past behind him and put him one step closer to redeeming his tarnished legacy.
The champion, fighting out of the red corner.